Sequencing is very important in how you swing a golf club. Now everybody's sequencing is going to be slightly different. Now some of the things that require differences are differences in club face position, how they use their hands through the ball. So there are different matchups that we have to make. Now if you're a player that tends to have the face, we'll just do it from this angle, really shut, you're probably going to require more rotation. So your arms are going to be farther behind the rotation down into impact to accommodate that more shut face. Otherwise you're going to hook it. So if you look at some guys on tour who do that, Dustin Johnson comes to mind. He's lots and lots of rotation, but he has to have it because he has a really shut face. Now, other guys don't need as much rotation because as they swing the club, or when they reach the top, their club face is more neutral or even open. And if you have an open club face, you're going to have your shoulders are not going to be nearly as open at impact. So the club's going to be more out in front of you. So if I had the face open, to get it back square, I'm going to have my shoulders more square. If I have the club face really shut, when I get to impact, my shoulders are going to be much more open to the left. What happens if the rotation of your body gets too far out ahead of your arms or of the golf club? Well, now the club is going to reach the ball open. You're going to hit it to the right most likely, unless you're a guy who has the face really shut. Or what happens if my arms and the club get ahead of my rotation? Well, you're probably going to have a chicken wing, because you can see as the club goes by, that's going to start to break down. Okay, so from this side, too much rotation too far ahead of the golf club is going to look like this. So I'm dragging the club up too much. That's going to go to the right, and my body not rotating in sequence. Now that's going to hit the ball most of the time to the left, but you might hit some slices from there too, trying to hold the face off. The way we get this sequenced up correctly is we figure out how to get the tension out of your arms so that as you start the club down, you're not pulling the handle up too far in front of you. So what happens is as I start to swing, momentum sucks the club out to the ball. So if there's no tension, the release is done automatically. I don't do it. Physics does it for me. So that's the biggest key, is figuring out how to get rid of the tension so you're not pulling or throwing the golf club trying to square it by yourself. Now, one of the next most common misconceptions I see is how you use your lower body in a golf swing. People have been taught or think that if they fire their lower body this way, it's going to create more power for them. But in reality, what that does is if I fire my lower body up this way, it gets me in the way, gets the club too far behind me, and causes me to make a bunch of compensations in order to hit the ball. So the way that your lower body actually works is as we swing up to the top, I don't fire off my right side. What's happening is I'm rotating around, and my right hip is actually rotating inward this way, and my left one is going out and around. So now I'm not getting closer to the golf ball, I'm making space for myself to swing into. It's just like a hitter in baseball. When a hitter swings a bat, they don't fire themselves up onto their front foot. If they did, you would never watch them on TV. So what they plant, and when they hit the ball, there's still a lot of pressure into that foot. So it's the same idea in the golf swing. When I swing a golf club, I don't fire up off of that foot. The rotation of my body pulls me off of that foot. That's the difference. So it looks like you're firing your hips, but in reality, all I'm doing is I'm up here and I'm unwinding my body. So I'm just sitting and I'm turning around. So that's all I'm doing with my body. So if you look at that from this view, so I get up here, and my lower body's going around, and my upper body is just turning back in its plane. So there's none of this in the downswing. If there is, the club gets behind you, and then you're in trouble. But if your body just turns like this, you can see the club's coming down and getting out in front of me correctly. The way our lower body works, it's always going to be a blend of some arm swing and some body rotation, and everybody's body is going to rotate slightly different. Some guys might be able to get a ton of hip turn and not have a ton of shoulder rotate, so their body's not going to be very turned. Other guys, like we could go back in time and look at guys like Tom Lehman, he still has a lot of rotation of his lower body, but his upper body's also rotated along with it. There's not a lot of separation between the two because he doesn't have the flexibility in his back. So he looks like this at impact, so he's going to play with a little bit more of a shut face. So when you're looking at golf swings, yours, your friends, or other professional golfers, there's some things to look for. And there'll be some constants among those who hit it really good. So the players that are going to strike the ball really solidly, when they reach impact, they're going to reach impact. There's still going to be a little bit of bend in their right arm. And that'll be a constant. You won't find anybody who's a really good ball striker who runs the club into the ball with both arms straight. Now, the reason that having a little bit of bend in the right arm is very important is that's what stabilizes the club face. When I've got my forearm lined up with the shaft and some bend here, as I go through the ball, I'm able to extend that and the face is not going to rotate. If I reach the ball and I've given away all the bend in my right arm, what happens now is this club's floppy and it starts to flip over. And so I have a really unstable club running into the golf ball. Now, when you've watched players on TV, you'll notice also that at impact, they all have their hips open, but it varies how open they are. And that varies based on, there's a lot of variables that come into play there. How they use their hands is one of the variables. So if the face is more open, they're using more rotation, they're swinging the club more. It also depends on, you know, their actual mobility in their body. Are they able to have their body really open? So there's lots of variables to consider when you look at somebody and how open their hips are.